Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to episode 42 of Young Justice, Complications. We begin this episode in the Atlantic Ocean on May 27th, where Black Manta in the Manta sub contacts Deathstroke, now voiced by Fred Tetsuya, who's in the Manta Flyer. Essentially, Black Manta wants a progress report from Deathstroke regarding the process of Aqualad's mind being restored. Deathstroke says that progress is slow, and that Aqualad's mind, while recovering, isn't fully restored at this point in time. And Black Manta responds by telling Deathstroke to continue to keep an eye on Miss Martian, and he, Black Manta, plans to head to Aqualad's room in person. In Aqualad's room, we see Artemis and Miss Martian having a telepathic conversation with each other and with Aqualad. It turns out that Aqualad's mind really has been fully restored now, but Aqualad is pretending to still be in a catatonic state because the three of them are trying to think of a plan to help Miss Martian to escape while the other two still maintain their cover, because they know that Black Manta intends to finish off Miss Martian once Aqualad's mind has been fully restored. So they're pretending that Aqualad hasn't been fully recovered yet to stall for time. But then Black Manta arrives in the room, and he tells Miss Martian that his patience have worn out. He demands that Miss Martian fully restore Aqualad's mind in 24 hours, or else she will perish. We then cut to the war world, where Nightwing arrives thanks to a portal that was created by Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate, Captain Atom, Blue Beetle, and Green Beetle are all there when Nightwing arrives, and Nightwing wants to know what happened to the Young Justice team members that partook in the mission from the previous episode, War, besides Blue Beetle, who's the only one present, of course. Blue Beetle, while we, the audience, know from the end of the previous episode that Blue Beetle, who is under the control of the Reach at the moment, had captured the Young Justice team members, Blue Beetle tells a different story to Nightwing and the Justice League members. In this lie, Blue Beetle claims that a boom tube portal opened up beneath them, and Blue Beetle managed to escape because he flew off the ground by instinct, but everyone else was swallowed. Everyone else fell through the boom tube portal, and that's what happened to everyone, according to Blue Beetle's lie. And Nightwing scanners indicate that there were traces of boom tube activity, which makes Blue Beetle's lie seem more plausible. Blue Beetle also claims that Impulse was the one who had... He says that Impulse was the one who had the crystal key with him, even though in reality Blue Beetle has it. But Captain Atom says that it's important that the crystal key doesn't fall in the wrong hands, so that the war world won't be reactivated and be in the wrong hands. So Captain Atom has arranged for Justice League members to guard the key chamber of the war world. Right now, Captain Marvel and Rocket are guarding the key chamber, but Captain Atom says that they'll be rotating different Justice League members to guard the key chamber over the course of time until the threat is eventually stopped. And Blue Beetle and Green Beetle are preparing to leave now. Dr. Fate opens up a portal that takes Blue Beetle and Green Beetle to El Paso, and Blue Beetle enters his home while Green Beetle heads off elsewhere. Back with the Manta Sub and the Manta Flyer, while Deathstroke isn't looking, Sportsmaster and Cheshire sneak through. Sportsmaster and Cheshire are wearing scuba outfits, and they sneak under the Manta Sub, and they manage to open it up so that they can sneak inside. After they distract some of the Manta Troopers in the area where they entered the sub, they're starting to prepare their attack because Sportsmaster and Cheshire both want to take revenge against Black Manta and Aqualad. Cheshire wants to avenge Artemis's seeming death, while Sportsmaster claims that he doesn't want his reputation to be ruined. And while they're preparing their plan, Cheshire reiterates that she's only working with Sportsmaster to avenge Artemis. But Sportsmaster responds that Cheshire and him are not so different from each other, even though Cheshire despises her father. Sportsmaster comments that that Cheshire and Sportsmaster are not so different from each other. But once they made the preparations, they do sneak into other parts of the Manta Sub, and they proceed with their revenge. Cheshire manages to Cheshire activates the map of the sub to figure out where Aqualad's room is, and she starts to go through the vents to reach the room, while Sportsmaster is going through different parts of the Manta Sub. While this is going on, Aqualad and Artemis set their plan into motion to free Miss Martian, even though Miss Martian doesn't want to go through with it because it could compromise their cover. But the other two are still willing to go through with this plan. So Artemis tells Deathstroke that she needs to get some coffee and stretch her legs. And Deathstroke understands this and says he'll keep an eye on Miss Martian while Tigress, aka Artemis, heads off elsewhere. So Artemis leaves the room and a Manta Trooper takes her position. And Artemis actually is heading for the control room instead. But after the Manta Trooper has entered the room, Cheshire enters the room as well. She knocks out the Manta Trooper and she throws a sigh towards Aqualad, but Miss Martian is able to block the sigh and prevent it from hitting Aqualad. And to his credit, Aqualad manages to hold still and pretend to still be in a catatonic state, despite the sigh heading right towards him. So kudos to Aqualad's performance. Miss Martian tries to telepathically tell Cheshire that things aren't as they seem to be, but Deathstroke, Deathstroke activates the part of the inhibitor collar that restricts Miss Martian's telepathic abilities, or it prevents Miss Martian from using her telepathic abilities. So now Miss Martian has no access to any of her abilities. And the camera is still going on, so Miss Martian can't really tell Cheshire out loud. And Cheshire, though, thinks that Aqualad is in a catatonic state still, and she says that it means it's not too much fun for her to... Cheshire says that makes getting her revenge not so fun. And she also is baffled that Miss Martian would be defending Aqualad after he seemingly killed one of her teammates or one of her friends, Artemis. But Cheshire still intends to go through with her vengeance, and Miss Martian has to try and keep her from killing Aqualad. Deathstroke contacts Black Manta and tells him about Cheshire in Aqualad's room, and Deathstroke is also under the impression that Miss Martian is protecting Aqualad because he's under the impression that Miss Martian realizes that she'll be eliminated if her patient is eliminated. So yeah, that's what Deathstroke tells Black Manta. Black Manta intends to head off to Aqualad's room, and he also sets off an alarm to send the Manta troopers to defend Aqualad. While this is happening, Artemis notices the alarm, and she also notices that she can't telepathically contact Miss Martian anymore. But she eventually reaches the control room, and she tells the Manta troopers inside that she'll take care of everything in here, and tells the Manta troopers to go off and help Aqualad, which they do. And oh, that's right. While in the room still, in Aqualad's room, Miss Martian does manage to destroy the camera while she's fighting Cheshire with a laser gun. But before Miss Martian has the chance to actually talk to Cheshire, Cheshire knocks her unconscious. And because the camera's off, Aqualad takes the chance to try and tell Cheshire that Artemis is still alive and actually on the Manta sub. But Cheshire doesn't believe Aqualad and still intends to take her vengeance out on him. And while he's on his way to get to his son, Black Manta crosses paths with Sportsmaster. So Black Manta and Sportsmaster begin their battle. While Artemis is in the control room, Deathstroke contacts Tigress to tell her what's going on. And Deathstroke is heading towards the Manta sub so that he can help out. And Tigress manages to, while she's in the control room, Tigress does manage to deactivate the inhibitor collar so Miss Martian can access her abilities again. But Miss Martian is unconscious right now, so that proves to be, that still causes some complications. And Artemis heads off to Aqualad's room, but she happens to come across the fight between Black Manta and Sportsmaster. Black Manta wants Tigress to take care of Sportsmaster for him because he's determined to get to his son before anything bad happens. So Sportsmaster fights Tigress, unaware of the fact that Tigress is really his youngest daughter. While all of this is going on, we see Nightwing is still on the war world, and he's doing an investigation about the disappearance of the Unjustice team, probably still wanting to verify Blue Beetle's claims. And while he's investigating, he notices a couple of scratch marks. He noticed the airlock door is damaged, and he also notices one of Robin's Bird-Arains. And he notices on the Bird-Arain there's some Scarab nanites on there. So Nightwing figures that the Bird-Arain must have hit Blue Beetle's armor. Now, back on the Manta sub, the Manta troopers have set an explosive on the door to open it because Cheshire tried to lock the door so that no one else could interfere. But Black Manta is not patient, and he uses the eye lasers on his helmet to destroy the door immediately so he can get in and help his son. But Cheshire manages to stun Black Manta, and she's about to deliver the finishing blow to Aqualad. But Miss Martian regains consciousness, realizes that the inhibitor collar is now deactivated, so she phases the collar off of her, and then she telepathically links up herself, Artemis, Sportsmaster, Cheshire, and Aqualad. In the mental realm, they're in a mental replica of Artemis and Cheshire's room when they were kids, and Miss Martian with Aqualad and Artemis in agreement reveal to Cheshire and Sportsmaster that Artemis is not truly dead, but simply Tigress in disguise and helping Aqualad with his undercover mission, because Aqualad himself is only pretending to be on the same side as the villains. Cheshire is relieved to see that her younger sister is still alive after all, but Sportsmaster is not convinced. He thinks that this is just some Martian trick, as he puts it. But Artemis says that she has a way to convince Sportsmaster that she really is Artemis, and Sportsmaster is doubtful about this. But when everyone is back out of the mental realm, back in the physical realm, Artemis demonstrates a technique that Sportsmaster taught her, and that's what convinces Sportsmaster that Artemis really is alive. And he's actually quite okay with the fact that Sportsmaster is quite okay with the fact that Artemis and Aqualad are planning to dupe the light, or get the better of the light with their undercover mission. And he even agrees to do a favor for Artemis. Back in Aqualad's room, Cheshire and Miss Martian agree to go along with an act because they both want to protect Artemis. So Miss Martian decides that... So they put on an act where Miss Martian claims to Cheshire that this is an enemy of my enemy is my friend situation. So she's willing to let Cheshire go so that Miss Martian can finish off Black Manta for herself. So Cheshire escapes, and Miss Martian prepares to attack Black Manta, but at this point Aqualad gets in on the act, and Aqualad acts like that he's no longer in his catatonic state, and he defends Black Manta from Miss Martian, who takes the chance to phase out of the room to make her escape. And Black Manta is quite happy to see that his son's mind has fully been healed, and he even hugs his son. After Artemis and Sportsmaster put up a convincing act of a fight, and Artemis is seemingly knocked out, Sportsmaster heads into the control room, and he destroys everything in the control room, because Artemis's favor that she requested was that Sportsmaster destroy it so that no one would know what Artemis had done in the room, namely deactivating the inhibitor collar on Miss Martian. So that's the favor. But before Sportsmaster and Cheshire can escape, Deathstroke has arrived, and he plans to fight them off. Sportsmaster and Deathstroke fight, and Tigress arrives to keep up the act by fighting Cheshire. And Sportsmaster calls Deathstroke a fool because he says that the light will betray him as they betrayed him, Sportsmaster. But Deathstroke reveals that he has an ulterior motive. Deathstroke wants a seat at the light's table. Eventually, Miss Martian arrives, and she manages to help Sportsmaster and Cheshire to escape. And then she keeps up a performance with Tigress so that Miss Martian, can also escape. And Yeah, it works out. Sportsmaster, Cheshire, and Miss Martian all manage to escape while Artemis and Aqualad's cover is still safe and sound. We then head to Gotham City on May 28th, where Cheshire has gone to see her mother, Paula. It turns out Paula was watching over Leon, her granddaughter, Cheshire and Red Arrow's daughter. And and while Cheshire is there to pick up her daughter, she's also preparing to tell her mother that Artemis is still alive. We then cut to the Caribbean Sea, where the Manta sub is now, and Black Manta is talking to Vandal Savage and the Reach ambassador through video chat, and he's showing them that Aqualad's mind has been fully restored. Black Manta believes that Aqualad seeing his father in danger was the catalyst that fully restored his mind. And the Reach ambassador congratulates Black Manta and says that it's been a good day for all of them. We then cut to Bloodhaven, where Nightwing is watching the news, and the Reach ambassador is introducing the public to Blue Beetle as a hero. And Blue Beetle reveals his face, showing that he's an Earthling, and pretty much he's singing the praises of the Reach for empowering him so that he can defend the planet. And this is what leads to Nightwing figuring out that Blue Beetle is now under the control of the Reach, and that's how we end the episode. So this was a big episode because we finally concluded the subplot with Aqualad's mind being destroyed. That's been resolved now. Aqualad's mind has fully been healed now, and his and Artemis's cover is still secure by the end of the episode. And Miss Martian is also free, so she doesn't have to worry about her life anymore. And yeah, she was able to help Aqualad, and she managed to escape as well. So that's good on the heroes' end. The heroes managed to secure a victory in this episode. And Sportsmaster and Cheshire attempted to go through with their revenge against Black Manta and Aqualad, but now they know that Aqualad is really an undercover agent and that Artemis is not truly dead. And it was heartwarming to see Cheshire does care about her younger sister. And as for Sportsmaster, in a weird way, we actually did get to see a heartwarming moment from Sportsmaster, as bizarre as that sounds. And it's a little diluted by the fact that Sportsmaster still kind of had some self-serving motives. He wanted to preserve his reputation, and him being okay with Artemis undermining the Light was more because, well, the Light did betray him, and Sportsmaster also figures, well, they're going to undermine the Light, so it's a benefit for him as well. But at the same time, it's like as far as the public is aware, Sportsmaster's reputation is still in the predicament that it was in before he set off on this mission, earlier on. So as far as the public's aware, Artemis is still dead, so Sportsmaster's reputation is still in the same position that it was in after Artemis was seemingly killed. So in a way, it actually is kind of heartwarming, like a very twisted and distorted heartwarming moment, mind you, but for Sportsmaster, that's still surprisingly heartwarming. And yeah, that was something else to say the least. But as for Black Manta, we do actually see we see sincere concern about a parent and an offspring. And yeah, Black Manta once again proves he's a bad guy, but he really does care about his son. He honestly loves his son. And it was pretty heartwarming to see him hug Aqualad when he saw Aqualad's mind was restored, and how proud he was when he was talking to Vandal Savage and the Reach Ambassador about how Aqualad had his mind fully healed. And that is going to make it really hard once Black Manta finds out that Aqualad really didn't join him. That's actually, for a lot of people, they did admit that was going to be very difficult to watch. And we will cross that bridge when we eventually get to it. But yeah, it goes to show those shades of gray are being recognized, and I appreciate that. And otherwise, oh, that's right, we did get to see more of Deathstroke, and this time around, Deathstroke is voiced by Fred Sawyer rather than Wentworth Miller, who voiced him in The Fix. And that was because of schedule conflicts. Wentworth Miller wasn't available when they were recording lines for this episode, so Fred Sawyer took over, and I think he did a good job too. I liked both Wentworth Miller and Fred Sawyer as Deathstroke. I think they both did a good job with the character. And we also find out that Deathstroke has an ulterior motive for being the new top enforcer for the Light, and that's because he actually wants to become an actual member of the Light itself. So not just being associated with the Light, not just being affiliated with the Light, he wants to be a member of the Light itself, which was the case with Black Manta. He was originally affiliated with the Light, but then he became an actual member of the Light after Ocean Master, for whatever reason, is no longer part of the Light. So that was good. We got to see a little bit about Deathstroke's motives. That was a good touch. Oh, and the subplot for this episode, the main subplot for this episode was Nightwing investigating what happened to the Young Justice team and trying to verify if Blue Beetle's claims were true or not. And I did like that. They were brief scenes, but it was nice to see how Nightwing had kind of inherited Batman's detective skills. So I thought that was a good touch. And otherwise, that was a bit. Yeah, we had a bit to talk about in this episode, but this is kind of like similar to War, the previous episode. We're starting to see that the heroes are actually starting to gain the upper hand in the battle against the villains, and that's definitely a good thing. And we'll get to see more how things unfold in the next 4 episodes. That's right, we have 4 more episodes of Season 2 of Young Justice that we have left to discuss. But for the time being, we've now discussed episode 42 of Young Justice on this channel. Take care, and until next time.